You are in a room full of brilliant people, all desperately trying to prove how smart they are. What if I told you that the most powerful person in that room is actually the one pretending to know the least? This centuries-old secret, used by everyone from tech billionaires to ancient warriors, could completely transform how you achieve success. When I first stumbled upon this mind-bending philosophy from a German thinker named Arthur Schopenhauer, I thought it was ridiculous. But then I noticed something fascinating. The most successful people around me weren't the ones showing off their intelligence. They were the ones who seemed almost uncomfortably ordinary. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal why Mark Zuckerberg still wears the same gray t-shirt, why Warren Buffett lives in the same house he bought in 1958, and why sometimes appearing less capable might be your greatest strength. And trust me, what you'll discover isn't just about success. It's about completely transforming how people perceive and respond to you in every aspect of your life. Let me take you back to a crucial moment in history. A 19-year-old philosopher sits in his dimly lit room, his hands trembling as he reads a letter from his mother. "My dear Arthur," she writes, "your cleverness, however exceptional, has become nothing but a source of irritation to others. Your constant need to prove your intellectual superiority is making you unbearable." These words would haunt young Arthur Schopenhauer and eventually lead him to one of the most powerful insights about human nature ever discovered. But before I reveal what Schopenhauer realized, let me share what happened in my own career just last month. I was sitting in a high-stakes meeting with our company's biggest client. The room was tense. We were about to lose $1 million contract. "The problem is," the client said, leaning back in his chair, "we just don't see the innovation we're looking for." My colleague James, our self-proclaimed genius, immediately jumped in. "Actually, if you look at our quarterly reports, you'll see that our innovation metrics are industry-leading." He continued for 5 minutes, throwing around technical terms and statistics. The client's expression grew increasingly frustrated. But then Sarah, our newest team member, who had been quietly taking notes, spoke up. "Could you tell me more about what innovation means to your company?" she asked simply. "I'd love to understand your vision better." The entire room shifted. What happened next was remarkable. But I'll come back to that story in a moment. First, let's understand what Schopenhauer discovered after receiving that devastating letter from his mother. He noticed a peculiar pattern in human behavior. The more someone tried to prove their intelligence, the more others resisted acknowledging it. But those who appeared slightly less capable often ended up wielding the most influence. This isn't just ancient philosophy. It's a principle that's been used by some of the most successful people throughout history. Take Sun Tzu, the legendary military strategist who wrote, "Appear weak when you are strong." He wasn't just talking about warfare. He was revealing a fundamental truth about human nature. But wait, you might be thinking, isn't this just being fake? Isn't it better to be authentic? That's exactly what I thought when I first encountered this idea. Then I met David, a mentor who would completely change my perspective. I remember sitting in his office, frustrated after being passed over for a promotion. "Let me tell you a story," David said, leaning forward in his chair. "When I was starting out, I thought being the smartest person in the room was the key to success. I had 3 degrees, spoke 4 languages, and made sure everyone knew it. Want to know where that got me?" He paused, letting the question hang in the air. Nowhere. Absolutely nowhere, because I didn't understand what Schopenhauer figured out centuries ago. Wisdom isn't about showing what you know, it's about knowing when to show it. This brings me back to the client meeting I mentioned earlier. After Sarah's simple question, something extraordinary happened. The client began opening up about his company's vision for the future. As he spoke, Sarah occasionally nodded, asking thoughtful questions. She never once mentioned her own impressive background in innovation strategy. By the end of the meeting, not only had we saved the contract, but the client had doubled their investment. Why? Because Sarah had mastered what Schopenhauer called the art of playing dumb. But here's where it gets really interesting. This principle goes far beyond the workplace. Think about your family dynamics. Who's the person everyone goes to for advice? It's rarely the one who's always right. It's usually the one who makes others feel heard and understood. I learned this lesson the hard way with my own father. For years, I tried to help him manage his retirement investments by showing him all the research and data I'd collected. He never listened. Then I remembered Schopenhauer's wisdom and tried a different approach. "Dad," I said one day, "I'm trying to understand retirement planning better. How did you make your investment decisions when you were my age?" The conversation that followed was transformative. Not only did he open up about his own experiences, but he became much more receptive to new ideas, because they felt like his own discoveries rather than my impositions. This brings us to a crucial point that Schopenhauer emphasized: the art of letting others think they've solved their problems on their own. It's not about manipulation. It's about understanding a fundamental human need for dignity and self-discovery. Consider how Socrates, one of history's greatest philosophers, taught his students. He didn't lecture them about what he knew. Instead, he asked questions, pretending to know nothing himself. This technique, now known as the Socratic method, is still considered one of the most powerful teaching tools ever developed. But here's the challenge, and I know you're feeling it already. How do you balance this approach with the very real need to demonstrate your value? Won't playing dumb hold you back? Let me share what happened when I first tried this approach in my team meetings. Initially, it felt uncomfortable. I was used to being the one with all the answers. The first few times I held back, my heart was racing. I worried people would think I wasn't contributing enough. Then something unexpected happened. When I stopped jumping in with immediate solutions and instead asked thoughtful questions, my team began to solve problems in ways I hadn't even considered. My influence actually increased, not decreased. And this brings us to the most powerful truth of all, one that Schopenhauer understood better than anyone. The real art isn't in playing dumb. It's in knowing exactly when to reveal your strength. It's about creating what I call the wisdom gap, the space between what others think you know and what you actually know. Remember Sarah from our client meeting? 2 weeks after saving that contract, she was promoted to head of innovation strategy. The client specifically requested to work with her, saying she was the only one who truly understood their vision. Her seeming ignorance had actually showcased her brilliance more effectively than any display of knowledge could have. This is the ultimate paradox that Schopenhauer discovered. True power doesn't come from proving you're the smartest person in the room. It comes from making others feel like they might be. When you master this art, something extraordinary happens. People don't just respect you, they champion you. They don't just listen to you, they seek you out. And when that crucial moment comes, that one moment where everything is on the line, your voice carries more weight than all the self-proclaimed experts combined. So the next time you're tempted to prove how much you know, remember that 19-year-old philosopher reading his mother's letter. Remember that sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to step back, ask questions, and let others discover their own brilliance. Because in the end, the truly wise aren't those who show what they know. They're those who know exactly when to show it.